Hello, and welcome to my mechanics showcase for my prototype game, Gravity Kills. In this game, the player is attempting to reach the bridge before the ship collapses into the gravity well of a black hole. The player will have access to 3 optional objectives and 1 primary objective. Primary objective being to reach the end of the level and the bridge. The secondary objectives or optionals are to collect survivors, collect research notes, and interact with repair tasks. These repair tasks are the primary mechanic. When the player clicks each button, the bars increase, and once they're finished, the player can exit to see their tasks up in the upper right hand corner completed, and some doors will open when the player does them. So, the other main mechanic is a dash that provides a brief window of invulnerability for the player to avoid damage from hazards. So, like so. Demonstrate it again. Like so. Alright. If we go into C top-down blueprint, this is the character. Here we have the interact action set up. It's just on pressing the E key, player interacts. It checks to make sure it is overlapping with actors that have the blueprint interface interaction. And if it does, it allows it to happen. Here we handle the timer for the game. The 3-minute timer starts out at a default of 3 minutes. Counts down over time. There is a pause timer by handle when the stop countdown is called. This is called on a few occasions, such as when the character is killed. It adds the fail widget, which is the end screen just modified for if the player fails. It sets them to ignore movement input, stops the countdown, shows cursor, and then moves the input mode to UI only. Handling damage is set inside the player as well. On any damage, subtracting them from the health. And if the player is at 0, then it checks, and if true, it triggers the on death. If we look at the repair task, we have setting the visibility of the interact widget, which is if the player walks close enough, they can see on their screen a prompt telling them what to do. Then, because this is has the BPI interface for interact, it has the event interact, and when that happens, it will either open the task, close the task, or complete the task, depending on if the power has been fully restored or if the task is already open. We have the open task event, which just checks to make sure the task is not complete or already open. Then it will do creating the UI and then deactivate the player movement. When closing the task, it checks to make sure that the task is open. If the task is open, then it will remove from parent, activate the player's movement again, remove their cursor, and set the gameplay back to game mode. When the complete task triggers, we get task completed from the character to make sure we increase the task counter in the upper right hand corner. It branches to make sure the task is open. If it is once the task is set to not open, it then goes through the sequence of removing the widget, reactivating the player's movement. Particularly this blueprint will check for the tutorial door. Once it checks for the tutorial door, it will open it, and it will increase the countdown timer so that the player gets an additional 30 seconds when they complete the task. We then have both the research notes and the survivors are simply on a overlap. Once the player gets in range, it will check and send information to the player to increase the count for survivors rescued, and then destroy the actor. This is the same for the research notes. Exact same way. Overlap, checks for research notes, sends it, increases it, destroys the actor. So doors. So each of the doors also have the interact prompt. We have the door timeline that activates with open door. Open door is called by repair task. Open door. We have under C top down. Sorry. Under controllers, PC top down. We disabled the jump input, replaced it with a dash input that is triggered on the space bar. It checks to make sure if the player is dashing or not. If it is dashing, sets to, if it is not dashing, it sets to dashing, sets the invulnerability. Obviously player gets their velocity, multiplies that velocity by 10, and then launches the character along the ground. There's a short delay, and then the invulnerability is removed, as well as is dashing removed. This is the short cooldown that prevents the player from spamming the dash key.